one of the things we had was microwave audio and video transmitters. NASA led the technology for that in the original shuttles. They were putting them in the helmets, these little canisters, and they were transmitting video and audio back then. But they were, little things that were coming over from overseas. So we came up with an idea, and we eventually we got into this video concept. What can we do with these video cameras, these little things? They were miniaturizing back then. What can we do with them? I don't know. We came up with an idea that we could put them on a model airplane. And we said, yeah, we can do that. And we got a couple of these little cameras, and I knew somebody at NASA, and I said, you have some microwaves? He says, yeah, we took them off the shuttle in the helmets. He says, you want them? He says, they're little tin cans. Look like tuna fish cans. Yeah, I'll take them. I'll play with them. Okay. So then we decided, well, we got to mount it on something. So I did some research, and I found a company that was building these 120-inch wingspan model airplanes. That was big, 120 inches back then. And I forget how I found a guy that was the head of the West Jersey Radio Control Club. He was over in Cherry Hill, and his name was Ray McCoy. He passed away a number of years ago. And somebody got me in to talk to him, and we started an idea that we could buy 6 of these model airplane kits. They were kits. You had to put them together, and there were, thousands of pieces and whatever. He says, I can do that. I said, really? I said, I'll hire you as a contractor to do it. And he didn't ask for much money because he was an older guy back then. But.
Yeah.
And we started this construction area in the lab. And I bought 6 of these. I think they're maybe about $100 a piece. I don't remember what it was. Because he said, I need pieces to make it bigger. And we have to make the structure of the fuselage to hold the... We had batteries in there, we had servos, we had transmitter, we had antennas and everything. Ray took all the parts home with him, too, because he had a shop in the basement. And then we found we had to have an engine for it, because they didn't come with engines back then. So I started looking at chainsaw engines. Right? And we found a company in Canada that was making these mini chainsaw engines. And we looked at it, and it had enough horsepower to put a blade on it. So we took them, and we had somebody in the shop mill out the chainsaw and put a hub on it with a spindle. And then Ray took them home and balanced them out. And he started them, and they used to spin the prop. And we modified it and made it. And he bought these huge blades for the propellers that we found. He came up with an idea back then, because the wings were just balsa wood, and then you put that iron-on coating on it. He says, you know what? He says, there's things called carbon composite. Oh my God. He says, I can iron that on. He says, and that'll make it the structure. So I went out and bought sheets of this carbon composite. He says, I can iron that on. He says, the thing it'll hold more weight than you can ever. Okay. We went over to his house, and he stood on the wing.
And you can
it was
believe
balsa wood. It
Yeah.
was balsa wood then.
Right.
Nobody had anything else.
Right.
He stood on it. He says, look, carbon composite. So finally we had, and I don't know how we called it, Robin. And I think maybe the models were called Robins. And so we had to go down over to Jersey with a Navy truck to pick up the first. He had it done. Then we were going to bring it back from the lab and he put the servos in and some of the mounting stuff in there. But we had to put the electronics in there and get it done. Okay. So we went over to Jersey with this Navy truck, and 3 of us, we couldn't get it out of the freaking basement. He forgot that his basement went up and made a turn.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, jeez, now what do we do? We're like, Ray, why did you build it so freaking big? We can't get it out of It took us 2 hours to try and moved his refrigerator and everything out of the way till we could make that turn with this 120-inch wingspan.
Oh, that's great.
All right, now you got to fly this thing. Okay. Now I went through almost a month's worth of back then of permissions to get on that freaking airfield. Nobody let me on the freaking airfield because there's P3s going in and out, and F-14s and F-whatevers. Nobody would let me over there. So I remember going to the captain and I said, hey, I did all this work. I need to get over there. So somehow or other, he called somebody over there and said, look, we'll figure out how we're going to do this. So we used to get a call in the morning. Okay, you can have it for an hour. And we used to have the walkie-talkie, the tower radio. I used to pick it up on the airfield. Then we got the big Robin out, right? So it was like we had some co-ops, and they loved it because nobody had done this before. Nobody ever flew anything like this in the world. I was the first one to do it. I came up with this idea, and it was going to work. So we got it out on the runway, and he used to taxi up and taxi back. And so I remember the first time we had this Robin sitting there, and we were all nervous as can be because we never flew it before.
And you put a lot into it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, this was months of work,
Yeah.
and okay. I mean, if something happened, well, that's life. But back then, you didn't know. I mean, we tested everything we could possibly do. We tested it on the ground. We had a little receiver station built up, so we could capture the video, and a little antenna on the runway. So the first day, I remember this. We got him out, and Ray's taxiing up and down the runway, and he's going back. I said, "Are you ready yet?" "No, not yet. I'm not ready yet." "Okay." And he's checking the ailerons. He had ailerons moving and tail moving in and out. "Okay. All right, I think I'm ready." So the co-ops, we all sat there and prayed. I remember that. We just sat there and prayed that nothing would happen to this bird, and we wouldn't lose it over Street Road or Bristol, or it disappear, because, oh my God, we had to follow it in the truck, because it was flying, I don't know.
Right. You guys would be
So
the new...
we cleared with the tower. There's going to be a model airplane flying around, but don't laugh at me. Please don't laugh at me. And they're hysterical in the tower. "Yeah, go ahead. There's nobody coming. So he goes down the end of the runway, and he had to see it, to play with the controls. And it starts coming down the runway faster and faster, and this blade is turning, and all of a sudden, it lifts off.
Oh, cool.
It lifts off. It goes up towards Street Road, and he turned it around. And see, we weren't allowed to go beyond the airfield. We did, but we weren't allowed to go. That was part of the rules the captain made. He says, "I don't want you going over those houses," or, all right, well, we can only go so, okay, we made circles. And it was that runway was pretty wide, that airfield, so it was enough. And Ray's flying this thing. And all of a sudden, we had a picture from the airplane coming down to the ground. And the kids were screaming, "Look, I got it, look." And we were following, and the antenna worked like a champ. We were following this thing, and it was buzzing around, and it worked. And we were screaming because this was the first model airplane that had a video connection at 120-inch wingspan.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a
That's
big
huge.
bird.
Yeah.
That was nobody had this kind of thing, ever.
Yeah.
Nobody even thought of it, to put what we call now reconnaissance on an airplane.